Look at these hands.
Later.
She
Christmas?
stomps the cards. She points like at a bar fight. I'll meet you outside, Buster. And then, what's she doing with that mug? Is she threatening to hit her with the mug? Look at this. This is amazing. It looks like, it really does look like a couple drunk guys at a bar. Oh, I told you, what are you talking about, you dummy? I'll take this outside. You want to talk about an interaction where neither side is going to back down? This battle on The View between Joy Behar and Meghan McCain is epic. What most people don't know is these two have beef going way back. We're gonna look at some of that footage. The way I picture it is when these guys know that she's gonna be on The View, I just picture them training. Like, you ever seen the Conor McGregor videos where he's lighting up heavy bags and sparring with people and stuff? I picture both of these guys doing that because they know it's gonna turn nasty. They're both very confrontational and they're both well-spoken. So they know it's gonna be a good battle. It's a fair fight. So what we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna break down the very short interaction they had. At the end, I want you to let me know who you think won, but I'm gonna break down the little tools and strategies they use and talk about what I would have done in that situation and also explain it so you can understand it. Because listen, if you watch this video and you're like, oh God, I'm just glad that I'm not in that position. I don't know what I do. I don't want that. This channel is called The Charisma Matrix, where I teach you the skills you need to be very comfortable in social situations. So you know, if Jenny comes up to you in the lunchroom and starts trying to talk you down, you know how to handle yourself so you can carry yourself with that confidence. So let's dive into this clip and break it down. So before we get into that clip that just happened yesterday, here's two clips of them kind of showing the history that they have and watch how they just naturally, immediately are at each other's throats.
Name one country that socialism has ever worked, and also every democratic socialist who is going on TV saying that it's good needs to start paying 90% in taxes.
Iceland.
On your tax form. No, on your tax form. On your tax form, I think you should start paying the amount of taxes that every socialist in this country thinks you need to. Because if you think the government is so good at spending money, look at the VA. No, because it is dangerous.
Okay, very confrontational. Here's another one.
That's not my issue. My issue is the moral relativism between someone like Kim Jong-un and Putin and President Trump. I think it's easy to sort of sit here and say that, but the reason why the Syrian...
You think Kim Jong-un is less moral than Trump? Do you?
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, I think Putin, the aiding and abetting of Assad right now.
On what topic?
Chemical gassing of children. Last time I checked, America isn't doing that to anyone. And I think the moral relativism...
Wait a second. Kim Jong-un what are you talking about?
Joy, I'm really trying right now, and I know that there's some frustration about the way we're communicating about this, and I completely understand it. But I will
And the interesting thing about that, I'm not going to dive too much into this clip because it's not the one I'm breaking down, but Meghan McCain actually used a strong strategy that I just broke down Ben Shapiro used in the last video that I put out, where you play an empathetic role. So you say, I can see how this conversation, the way we've been conversing is frustrating to you. I understand that. That does two things. Number one, it does lighten the load. It makes you seem like a little bit less of a bad guy. It's not all me, you're wrong. All of a sudden you're like, well, I see how this could feel this way. And it also establishes you as an authority role because you're someone just like a teacher. Hey, Billy, I see that you were sad that Robbie cut in front of you at lunch. Do you think we could do this? So it shows empathy, which is a nice thing. And then number two, it shows leadership. So that's something kind of interesting that she threw in there. So let's watch this main clip and see how things change and break this down.
They learned from him.
I want to say one thing about him that was not picked up really, because as a candidate, he said, those who think we're powerless to do anything about the greenhouse effect are forgetting about the White House effect. And then he signed into law the Clean Air Act Amendment of 1990, one of the most sweeping environmental statutes ever.
Yeah.
This president that we have now is trying to unravel everything that he did and Obama did. And if I ever become a one-issue voter, it will be about pollution and the greenhouse effect and
Can
the
we
fact
focus
that
on the president, please? I don't want to talk about Trump when we're in the moment of we're honoring a great president who's passed.
Please. I want to talk about
we're honoring, but I'm not interested in your one issue.
I don't care what you're interested in. I'm talking.
I don't care what you're interested in.
We'll be right back.
It gets so hot that Whoopi has to cut it off with a break because they're not getting anywhere. Okay, so what happened here? So basically, Behar was taking this as an opportunity to bash Trump. They're talking about Bush dying, and so all of a sudden she says this and this, and if I become a one-issue voter, this is what I'm going to do. Which, I mean, regardless of what your political stance is, that is kind of inappropriate. You know what I mean? You're talking about somebody dying and you're taking it as an opportunity to take a shot at somebody. It's just not well-timed. And I know on these shows, these guys have to fill a lot of time, but I think she could have waited until that was done. And so what happened? McCain immediately addresses that. Let's see how she does it.
Yeah, this president that we have now is trying to unravel everything that he did and Obama did.
Okay, so that is a big stretch. How do you go from Bush dying, who's a president from long ago, to Trump is trying to unravel everything Obama did? There's basically no correlation between the two. They just look at an opportunity to get to it and see what McCain says.
And if I ever become a one-issue voter, it will be about pollution and the greenhouse effect and
Can
the
we
fact
focus
that
on the president, please?
She just had too much. She let her continue talking, and she says, "Can we focus on the president?" I think that's a fair stance.
Please, I don't want to talk about Trump when we're in the moment of we're honoring a great president.
So what's her tactic, right? She probably realizes, she's not a dumb lady. She probably realizes she's out of place by doing that. So she's not using any facts. She's just trying to talk over her with, excuse me. Look at the hands go up and she gets more animated. It's kind of one of those strategies that I teach when people are trying to talk over you just in everyday life. One of the strategies you can use is repeat their name. So if Bobby's talking over you and you're saying, yeah, man, the leaves were changing. We were out on the walk, and Bobby starts talking to Bobby. You just keep saying their name until they stop. Let's see if it worked.
Please. I want to talk about
but I'm not interested in your one issue.
So she didn't even let her continue. And that's actually a really strong underlying strategy. If somebody is able to stop you and they get the floor and everyone stops talking and they're listening to them, you don't even have to give them a chance to say what they're going to say. You start talking immediately right after they begin talking, because then attention is naturally going to shift to you and they're not going to hear the point that they wanted to make. So let's go back and watch that. Notice how McCain kind of gave her the floor when she said, excuse me. But then immediately when she started talking, she went into her own shtick.
When we're in the moment of we're honoring a great president who's passed.
Please. I want to talk about
but I'm not interested in your one issue.
I don't care what you're interested in. I'm talking.
Okay, so she says, I'm not interested in your one issue voting. Okay, so the minute she starts talking and gets the floor, she starts going, and now they both just start talking. You can tell their volume is getting louder and louder.
I don't care what you're interested in.
We'll be right back.
Okay?
No, look at this. Look at these hands.
Later.
She stomps the cards. She points like at a bar fight. I'll meet you outside, Buster. And then, what's she doing with that mug? Is she threatening to hit her with the mug? Look at this. This is amazing. It looks like, it really does look like a couple drunk guys at a bar. Oh, I told you. What were you talking about, you dummy? I'll take this outside. That's unbelievable. And look at the crowd. The crowd's just flipping out. Look at some of these people in the crowd's faces. They're used to the view getting worked up a little bit, but nothing nearly this crazy. The crowd's like, what is going on? I think the crowd, to be honest, a lot of them are probably thinking, when people watch situations like this, they're thinking, God, what would I do in that situation? That's so uncomfortable. I don't know how to handle that. Someone's yelling at me when they're getting worked up. They're so emotional. Anything I say could make them more mad. And I see a lot of people who are almost crippled by that because they intentionally avoid confrontation by any means because they're afraid they don't know how to handle that situation. Because I'll tell you what, when you get into a heated argument and someone gets really mad and you are unequipped to handle that, you don't have the social skills or the ability or know the strategies to do that, that's a very bad situation. And unfortunately, when people go into situations like that and the other person who's more comfortable with confrontation can read that in the other one, they kind of see an easy target. And so they're even more likely to get aggressive. And if that's something that you feel like, I've got a social invincibility checklist that'll go through 5 things that'll get your confidence up where you need to be so you can go into these situations that may be confrontational and you can handle it and be comfortable going into it. So because you're covering this video and get that for free, you can touch or click up here. Just go to charismamatrix.com/SI checklist and you can get that thing for free. So let me know in the comments who looked better in this. It's hard to separate your political beliefs when you're seeing a very heated exchange like this. And I'm sure you have a natural tendency to kind of side with the person who has the political beliefs that you do. But I'd ask that you distance yourself. It takes a true pro and a very competent person to be able to call out strengths in people that you don't side with their issues and you don't see the world the same way as them, and to call out weaknesses in someone that you do see the same way. But it's a very important thing to do. It really does show a lot of confidence. You have to be able to put your little biases aside to do that. So I'd encourage you to do that here. Now, if you haven't seen the video when we're talking about confrontation of Bill Maher and Ben Shapiro, Ben Shapiro's a dude who's been really gaining in popularity, and he sits down in Bill Maher's show, which is really a henhouse. Like, his crowd is very, very liberal and very supportive of him. And Ben kind of goes into the lion's den, and I break down the interaction that these guys have. It's really interesting. You can click here to watch that. And if you have a question for me, by the way, go to my Instagram and you can ask me the question there. I'm answering a lot of questions in my podcast called Charisma Matrix Social Secrets on iTunes. So feel free to reach out there. I'll talk to you in that Ben Shapiro video.
But it's not an elephant and a mouse. It's two elephants.
But it is, really?
I needed 600 officers to protect me at Berkeley. Yes, it's an elephant and a